Welcome to the Dom Sub Devotion Podcast. Every episode of Dom Sub Devotion is an authentic reflection of our real life in a loving 24/7 DS marriage. If you crave the passion and intensity of a power exchange dynamic inside of a deeply loving and intimate relationship, you've found the right place. You can always find more from us in the show notes and at infinitedevotion.com. Thank you for listening.
So in today's episode, I want to talk about the dominant for the whole hour. And specifically, I want to talk about why it's important for a dominant man to take care of himself and to take care of himself first. And I guess the place I want to start with this, when I teach men about dominance, it always starts first with responsibility. We have to take 100% responsibility for our lives if we want to be and feel as though we are in a dominant place in our life as a man. It's the doorway, it's the entry, it's the price of entry. And doing that obviously leads to a lot of responsibility.
Right.
And in my life, every single moment, I'm responsible for a lot of things.
Do you like that?
I do. I do now. In the past, I would have said it felt like too much pressure. I would have said that it was stressful. Now it feels very empowering.
How so?
Look at you coming hot with the questions today. Well, I think a part of that is what we're going to get into today. It feels empowering because I have made the changes in my life and ours, and you've followed me in those changes to have my life be in a place where I do have the authority to make the decisions that I need to so that I can take responsibility for as much of my life as possible. And when I can be in a place where I can make decisions and where I can take things where I want them to go or where I see as being right, that's always empowering. But in the past, when it would have felt like pressure, when it would have felt like too much, felt like expectations, I felt very out of control of my own life. And it's tough to feel as though you can take responsibility when you don't actually feel as though you have control or the ability to make the decisions that responsibility requires. So as I've stepped into more responsibility for myself and for you, because I not only take complete responsibility for my life, I also take complete responsibility for yours. And for our relationship, and for all of the little details of our business, all the little details of our personal life. I won't say all of the decisions, but most of the decisions, all of the big ones. Even though it's not pressure, it's still a lot.
I can see that.
There are no breaks. This is the most 24/7 part of 24/7 Dom Sub. It is 24/7 that life is my responsibility. So again, when I teach men about this, responsibility comes first. But if you're going to take that much responsibility, you also have to take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
And I have a lot more to say, but I would love just for you to share, why is it important to you that I take care of me?
Well, in our relationship, when you hold, I'm going to say all of the responsibility because it's basically all of it, in my mind, because I know I can lean on you for anything and everything, even if there is something that arises that um, isn't already spelled out because we didn't know it.
The unexpected.
Yeah. Um, I know that you still hold it. And so if you aren't solid in yourself, if you aren't daily taking care of yourself, I can't lean on you and feel like you've got me. And I have a lot more I could say about that in all of the different areas.
I'm sure we'll come around to a lot of them as we kind of take this apart. But that's a really important thing, I think, for the men listening to this to hear. Because if we are giving of ourselves so much, we need to be giving from a place of fullness. And we talk about this with submissives a lot, right? If you're going to serve as a submissive, you have to, you can't do that from a place of emptiness. I can't do that either. I can't take responsibility. I can't lead you. I can't guide you. I can't take care of you. I can't provide for you in the best way possible if I'm empty.
Right? You really can't do anything well in life in that way.
And this is where a lot of relationships, and I will say probably most relationships, operate very differently. They operate more on an unspoken agreement that I'm going to empty myself out for you, and I'm going to expect that you're going to empty yourself out for me. So I'm going to take care of you, and then I'm going to expect you to take care of me. And that's how I'm going to get my needs met. And that doesn't work if we want power exchange. It doesn't work if we want intensity. It doesn't work if we want to have a relationship that is as good as it can get.
That doesn't work to have any good relationship, whether you are a dominant and submissive or not. It's why relationships are pretty dull looking when you look around.
So for me to be able to hold everything that I hold for you and for us, I need to be full. But I will say that from my past, from my childhood, from my upbringing, and from a lot of my early experiences with women in my life, I learned that it was dangerous to not give a woman what she wants.
Dangerous how?
Like I'd be punished. And this is something that I see over and over and over with men, is this fear of not giving a woman what she wants. And not just women, by the way, not giving everyone in their lives everything that they want. This is kind of the dominant, the male masculine version of the challenge that a lot of women have of letting go of control. Because they're afraid that everything's going to go wrong if they let go of control. A lot of men are afraid that they're going to get left, abandoned, or punished if they do not give everyone in their life everything that they want. And it leads to a lot of men putting themselves last.
Oof, I just feel the weight of that.
I did it for a long time in our relationship earlier on.
Yes, you did.
And I saw how it affected, you saw how it affected me. I was a shell of a man.
Yeah. And, I have my own role in where we were at the time too, but gosh, now there's just certain things that light me up in seeing you take charge and take care of yourself. It just turns me on. And so looking back,
Wait a second, I'm going to do a you here, such as.
well, I'll get to it, but I just wanted to reference looking back. I remember you got to a point where you're like, I need to be the man that she wants, that she craves, that she desires, that she wants to fuck. And so you started making those changes for yourself. So looking back, it makes all the sense to me why I wasn't as turned on by you anymore as I was in the beginning of our relationship. And again, I had my own role in that. It wasn't just you, but gosh, it makes a lot of sense now on why I partly lost some sex drive. So now, when I see you stepping forward in so many different ways, including holding the responsibility for our lives together, like I just feel that turn on because of it. When you kind of just decide what we're doing on a date night, when you make the decision on where our travel plans are going to go, when you get up early in the morning and you take care of yourself first in so many different ways, meditating, doing your workouts, like it just excites me.
Back pre-dominance and submission in our relationship, and I'll just briefly mention for anybody who might be newer here, we were married for 8 years and together for 10 before I asked you to be my submissive and we started on this journey. I had already been on a self-improvement journey for several years myself before I asked you that question. And that self-improvement journey was where I started to recognize the error in my ways. How I had, not only with you, but in my first marriage as well, and with any girlfriends that I had before that, I had essentially tried to give you and everyone everything that they wanted with the expectation that I was going to get back everything that I wanted, which in the words of Robert Glover is a covert contract.
Yeah.
A one-sided contract that you didn't know that you had signed on for, but that I was holding you responsible for.
Thank you. But I also did that to you.
We both did it a lot in a lot of ways. So, but why would I do that? Because it's not like there wasn't heart behind all of that, right?
Right.
I I sacrificed myself like crazy for you, for your girls, for my employees, for like everyone in my life. I tried to take care of everyone. And I was doing it. I was going to say I was doing it from a place of love, but no, I wasn't. That's actually, I'm going to call bullshit on myself. I was doing kind things, but I was doing it manipulatively. I was trying to get something from it that I wasn't speaking up for. That's the reality.
Yeah. Ouch to that. On my side of that, I saw the sacrifices you were making and I did appreciate them, but I did not appreciate them to the depth of what I'm going to say it this way I could have if I would have just been more aware. You wouldn't have been operating that way if you were more aware as well. I get that, but I also saw how it affected you as a man, even if I couldn't describe it. Like I just felt it. And again, it didn't necessarily make me desire you sexually.
And that's the folly in all of this. It's the piece that as a man you think is going to work, right? I'm going to give you everything you want, and then you're going to be turned on for me. Because I was working way back then, I was working a lot. Some people might have heard the story before, but I fired you. You worked for me,
Mm-hmm.
and I fired you so you could stay home and take care of your girls so that you had some energy left for our relationship, because you were just basically burning the candle at both ends and there wasn't anything left of you.
Right.
So I took on all of your workload along with mine because I couldn't afford to hire someone else to replace you at that point.
Right.
So I took on essentially double my workload, and I could list out a lot more things, but
And you hated your job, and I still felt that at home.
yeah. And so now I hated a job that I had double the workload in.
Right.
And I will give myself credit that I did speak up for what I wanted, which was for that to make more space for us and for our relationship.
Yes, you did.
I did actually say that part out loud.
Right.
But there were a lot of things back then that I didn't say out loud.
Right. Us both.
And I tried so hard to sacrifice myself, thinking that the rewards were going to come back to me for having done that.
Gosh, I can just feel that from before with awareness now.
Yeah, and it was brutal because the rewards never came back.
No,
It was
they
just,
couldn't.
I was throwing myself on the sword and dying as a martyr.
Right.
And this is why I tell men, self-sacrifice is not a virtue. You, we, a lot of men are raised thinking that we need to sacrifice for others. We need to sacrifice for our partners, for our kids, for our jobs. But and this is kind of the moral of the story of telling this part of my story, is that when I sacrificed myself in all of these ways, and we're just touching the surface of how I did this, when I sacrificed myself, not only did I not get back what I wanted, you only got to experience the shell of the human being that I became because I sacrificed myself. And how could that be exciting for you?
It wasn't sexy.
No. And this is the reason I think that the thing that reinforces for a lot of men the fear of not giving. Because I remember one of my mentors a long time ago telling me this phrase, like, it didn't work so well, so I kept doing more of it. But if all of this giving to you didn't get back what I wanted, there's no part of me at that point that ever thought that this wasn't the right path. It was just like, I need to be able to give more. It was what my programming told me. And that only works until it doesn't, until there's nothing left of me.
Right. So, I see a huge problem for men who maybe have their own business and are so attached to it that they are working a lot, or they're working in the corporate world and they're still working a lot. And so you're faced as a man with, I have this demanding job, and now how do I actually give more to her? How do I take on more responsibility? How do I make room for taking care of myself? So, what are your thoughts there?
Well, that is the thing that breaks that whole paradigm of I have to give in order to get back, is that if I'm doing that in a way that's emptying me, like I said, you're only getting an empty version of me. I have to stop for a little while. I have to pull back on how much I'm giving and direct some of that energy and that attention back into myself. And that is why, after taking responsibility for your life, the next step in my 12 steps to dominance that I teach in becoming a dominant man is take care of yourself first. And this terrifies the nice guy in most men, because they hear, don't take care of anyone else.
Ooh, yeah. I can see why that would be terrifying.
Because it feels like all the giving is the only path to get anything back. And it's really driven, at least for me, and I think for most men, it's driven by a lack of self-worth.
Yeah.
Like, I have to do something to earn love. I have to earn affection. I have to earn everything. And I have to give myself away to essentially buy love.
And that's just trying to fill an empty hole
Right.
that won't ever be filled.
So when I say take care of yourself first, I always have to put the little caveat there. I'm not saying you don't take care of other people. I take care of a lot of people. I give a lot of myself to you first, to a lot of our clients, to the business that we're building.
Mm-hmm.
I give of myself quite a bit, but I always give to myself first.
How do you do that?
That is the perfect segue for the next part of this conversation, is what does it mean to take care of yourself first as a man? And I would say, first things first, it really is a matter of priority, right? I have to take myself off of the bottom of the list and move myself to the top of the list. One of the ways that I do that is that I wake up early. I start my day by doing things for me. Sometimes that's work. I'm not going to sit here and act like it has to be all meditation and singing kumbaya and, doing all these super spiritual things. Like, sometimes I wake up and I work almost immediately. But if I do that, I'm doing it because I want to get that out of the way so that I can spend my time later in the day doing something else. I am my first priority. So there are a lot of ways that we as men can take care of ourselves. And I'm going to spend some time now talking about those. And this is where I'm really excited to hear your reflections as to why these are important. But you can do all of these things while putting yourself at the bottom of the list. And the point that I'm making here for guys today is, do these things as a priority. Put yourself as a priority. And first and foremost, that is, go to bed. Get on a good sleep routine. Research sleep. Learn about sleep. Figure out why you have sleep problems if you do, and sort them out. I could do a whole podcast just talking about the lessons I've learned about sleep. I won't do that here, but go look up a guy named Dr. Matthew Walker in his book, Why We Sleep. Andrew Huberman's podcast, he's shared some really good research on sleep, but you've got to go to bed and get a good night's sleep and be well rested, or you are trash for yourself and everyone else in your life.
That is a shift that I saw you make that I really, really appreciated for multiple reasons. For one, you started going to bed when I did.
I, I was hoping you'd admit that in part you liked it because I started going to sleep with you.
Yes, because I love our little cuddle routine every time we go to bed together. I love it. It it's everything to me. It's one of my favorite parts of the day, even though I chuckle at myself whenever I say that to you, laying by you, because I'm like, well, one of my favorite parts of the day is just going to sleep, but it's not about going to sleep. It's about just having that time together, the physical touch. But also, I am sapiosexual. So I always appreciate when you bring something that just feels so intelligent and of value to you, and you bring it to me and you implement changes for us and you share with me the value. Not all of everything you read, but the value that you want to bring to our lives because it makes me feel like you care, that I'm important to you. And you did this research for us. And I just love that.
And really, I did it first and foremost for me. And this is the priority thing, right? Because I knew that I was not well rested. I knew that I wasn't as alert as I could be throughout the day. And I figured out what I needed to do to get me sleeping better. And then also because you're mine, I'm not going to implement changes in my life that I'm not also going to implement in yours because I want both of our lives to be better.
Right. Well, I guess that's the part I didn't speak to is how I saw you, your own, I don't even know what to call it, but just how even that piece impacted you. And I felt you differently. You were more alert. You were more present, even back then, even though I probably wouldn't have used that word back then. But I experienced you differently because of that priority you made for yourself. And I deeply appreciated it. Still do.
I'll come back to this statement that there is nothing more important that I can do for myself to put myself first, to prioritize myself, and to be a more full and complete version of me for everyone that relies on me, for all of the responsibility that I handle, than to be well rested. And I will say to every person listening to this podcast, go out and at the very least read some of the highlights from that book, Why We Sleep, and listen to some of the highlights from Andrew Huberman's podcast on sleep and implement some of those changes. You'll be a better human being for it. But in order to put myself first, to go to bed, I had to start saying no to some things. Right? I used to stay up really late and then still get out of bed pretty early in the morning.
Yeah. And you thought you felt okay.
And that time after you went to bed was kind of when I had some time to myself back then. So I was putting the time to myself at the end of the day when I was already tired, exhausted, worn out. But if I just went to bed, it felt like I was giving up on that time for me,
Mm,
something that I desperately needed back then.
yeah. And you still do.
What I realized once I started getting better sleep and was more well rested is, oh, I can put that time for me at the beginning of the day, because now I get up at 5 o'clock every morning, almost every morning. And I have a couple of hours in the morning when I'm fresh and alert where I get to do what I want to do and take care of me. So now, by going to bed and getting up earlier, I've shifted my time for me to the first thing in my day. And I wake up every morning knowing that this is for me.
I can't even explain why, but I just freaking love that. It's it's so sexy to me that you do that.
Some of the other ways that I take care of myself and put myself first. Let's talk about appearance.
I love this section because this is pretty easy to just dive into right away
Mm-hmm.
for any man if it's not a priority.
Men, you need to take the time to dress well. And I don't mean you have to put on a suit and tie every day. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm in a V-neck t-shirt and a nice pair of jeans.
And I love it.
Dawn loves me in V-neck t-shirts.
I
So
do.
just get some new t-shirts. $13 t-shirt, right? It's not expensive, but get some clean, new, fresh clothes. Throw away your old, dirty garbage. And groom yourself. Like, pluck those ear hairs and go to the barber every 3 weeks and trim your beard every other day if you have facial hair, and maybe wash your face and put some lotion on your face. Put some lotion on your hands, scrub under your finger. If you look good, you feel good. This isn't about, I don't do this for you. I do it because I want to feel my best, and I feel better when I look good.
And I appreciate it because I reap the benefits too.
100%. But here's the difference, right? If I was doing all of these things because you wanted them.
Ugh, gross.
Exactly. This was my old model, right? I would try to figure out what you wanted. What kind of clothes do you want me to wear? And I would wait for you to tell me what you wanted me to do, and then I would do it. And you might still get the same result, right? I could still look the same.
Right.
But if you experienced me looking that way because you basically mommed me into it, I didn't take any responsibility for that. I'm not caring about me. I'm just now someone else that you told what to do.
So let me ask you this, because I love complimenting you and telling you look sexy. And I know there are certain ways you dress, certain ways you do your hair that I just really love and probably compliment you even more without,
Mhm.
I shouldn't say probably. I know I do. So I'm trying to like how to formulate this question on how do you personally like receive that and take that into consideration compared to what you like personally.
Yeah, that's a good question. And it hits at something else I wanted to talk about. So this will maybe be a good little diversion here. We'll come back to the other ways of taking care of yourself. But yeah, for example, you love me in V-neck t-shirts, and every time I put one on,
Like, you're so sexy.
every time. So does that make me stand in my closet when I'm picking out clothes and say V-neck t-shirt or something else? Yeah, I think we'll go with the V-neck, right? Of course, I am going to respond in some way to what you like. But it's the energy inside of myself that's different here. I'm not picking out the clothes hoping that you're going to like how I look.
Yeah.
If I didn't like this, no matter how much you liked it, I wouldn't wear it.
Yeah. And I know that. And I also appreciate that.
We've had conversations around haircuts and hairstyles, right?
Yeah.
You have certain ways you have certain ways that you like my hair, and you also have what we might call some hard limits where you would call safe words if I did certain things with my hair that I might like. So you look at me more than I look at me,
Yeah.
and I do want to be visually appealing to you. I want to give you something nice to look at. It just has to be something I also like and want. If I'm dressed how you want me to dress, with my hair done how you want me to do my hair, and everything is all just what you want, you're in control. And we both know that if you are in control of a situation, you're not turned on.
Exactly.
It's not exciting, even if you had the same result.
Right.
Another place that this goes is if I'm putting myself first, and this is a question that someone asked me recently. If I need to put myself first, but I also say that I need to put your needs before mine,
Ooh,
how do I balance those two things?
very great question.
And so, again, in case you're new here, a part of how I lead in a dominant submissive relationship with Dawn is that I want her to be able to let go of control. I want you to be able to feel free and safe enough that you can surrender to me and follow me, which means that I need to put your needs before mine. I need to, I need you to know that I'm going to look out for you so that it feels safe enough for you to not have to be on guard and in fear and looking out for yourself all the time.
Right.
So I'm saying that is absolutely true. I'm also saying that I need to take care of myself first. These are not mutually exclusive, and it's not one or the other. Because in some ways, putting myself first is putting your needs first, because you need me to be at my best.
Absolutely 100%.
Me getting the exercise that I need, taking care of myself, meditating, whatever it is. I am in some ways meeting your needs by taking care of me, by putting myself first. And this is a bit of a paradox, right? Because I'm meeting your needs by putting you second, by saying I'm not going to do this, whatever this is, until I've taken care of myself first.
Yeah. I guess I didn't even ever think about that aspect of the paradox there, just because of how our lives are set up. And what you shared already was like, we both know you need to be full. I need you whole. I need you taking care of yourself because otherwise you don't have anything to give me.
So if this seems like it's an impossible paradox in your life as a man, that you could put yourself first, but also still be looking out for your partner's needs, some part of you is probably thinking that you have to give her everything she wants in order to meet her needs.
I can see that. Mm-hmm.
Everyone in our lives gets the best version of us when we take care of ourselves. And you need that from me. My clients need that from me. I need that from me. Like, I don't want to be an emptied out, drained, tired, beaten down shell of a human being anymore. I've been there, done that. Got the stamp on my passport. I don't want to go back. So let's talk about a couple of other ways that men can put themselves first. I mentioned it just a moment ago, but I'll just lump together eating well and getting your exercise. We talked about looking good in terms of clothes, like dressing well, grooming yourself. Being in good shape is the best outfit.
Yeah.
Most men's personal growth advice starts with, "Do you even lift, bro?" For a reason.
Yeah.
Because it's not just, yeah, you look better when you work out. You look better when you eat well. But also you are treating yourself like you fucking matter. You're taking care of yourself. You're taking care of your body. You're pushing yourself and learning and growing and expanding and getting better at something. You feel better about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the thought that is coming to my mind as I hear you talking about how to take care of yourself is if a man isn't, um, put yourself back into like the beginning of the relationship you're in, if you're in one, like, or if you were single, how would you dress? How would you take care of yourself for a first date when you were new in a relationship? How did you or how would you take care of yourself? I think we all can say that we've put more into things when it's a new relationship. And I'm going to be the first to say that I want that effort our whole lives together, right? Because, we've had our own things with fitness, the aspect that we're talking about right now, and nutrition. And boy, did I project some of my things onto you.
Well, and my body showed how I was sacrificing myself,
Yeah.
how I was not treating myself with respect, how I was putting myself last. And it, we just ran into someone a couple weeks ago who knew me back then. And I remember him, like, he kind of thumped me on the chest. He's like, "I remember when you used to be like really fat."
Ah, ouch.
Like,
But it's the truth.
yeah, I remember me when I used to be too.
Me too.
Keeping myself in good shape is, again, something that I do for me first. You obviously get the benefit of getting to be with me looking better, but it is more about, and it's first about how I feel about myself, about respecting myself. about taking the time to take care of me. And again, we're talking about working out a lot here, but also eating well, eating nutritious food, not just eating chicken breast and rice and broccoli because I have to be skinny, because I need to be ripped, because that's the only way that you're going to be turned on. Like, then the whole thing is you in control again. If I'm trying to do it for you,
Right.
I have to eat well. I have to nourish myself. I have to fuel myself to give myself the energy that I need to do everything that I do, to be mentally sharp and to feel good about myself. Oh, and by the way, I'll quote Tony Horton from the P90X videos from about 15, 20 years ago. Drink your water, people.
Side note, we used to do those together.
We did. So many people did P90X back in the
Yeah.
early 2000s. So many Tony Horton quotes that still run through my head.
I know. I don't know if they'll ever go away.
Like a pterodactyl backing out of trouble.
Yep, that one already came to mind.
It's the German potato soup.
Oh
I
my
could
goodness.
quote so many of those videos because we did them so many times.
Yeah.
But drink your water. I mentioned this in my Becoming a Dominant Man course, and somebody said to me, I've never heard drink good quality water. I just thought water was water.
Nope.
Water is not water. If you want to gross yourself out, go look at some YouTube videos of the inside of city water pipes, what it looks like when they cut them open. And those are the pipes that are carrying the water to your house that comes out of your faucet.
I'm not going to look that up. I just take your word on it. If you say it's gross, it's gross.
It's yuck. So I won't tell you how you need to sort out getting good, clean, mineralized water without toxins in it. Figure that out for yourself. But you have to stay well hydrated with good quality water, and you have to do it every single day. It's right up there with sleep in terms of how important it is. These are the fundamentals of being a healthy human being.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to be here for you, if I'm going to inspire anything in you in terms of desire, submission, there has to be something to me. And if I am just sacrificing myself and throwing myself on the sword, martyring myself every moment of the day for everyone, that's not inspirational, right?
No, never.
So this is what terrifies guys so much is I have to essentially stop doing what I think I need to do to get love and start doing exactly what I feel like is going to make people upset or angry with me and turn their back on me in order for people to actually admire me and look up to me. I have to treat myself like I matter.
Oh, that's so important. Those words.
We've touched on quite a few different little pieces of this here today about men and taking care of themselves. What would you say to men who are afraid to start putting themselves first and saying no to some people, even if it's just for a little while?
it's going to change your life for the better and in ways that you probably can't even imagine right now. Because if you're living in the I need to put myself last, I don't matter mindset underneath your ego, you aren't going to be able to see the possibility and see if you're in a relationship, how that can impact your woman. And for me, like, it turns me on to see you treat yourself like you matter all the time, to take responsibility for everything about your life in the way that you do. Ugh, it's everything.
And this is connected to dominance and submission because I don't need to force submission when you feel that way about me.
No,
Like, we've talked before about how I can't force you into submission anyway.
right. Like, I just feel speechless kind of in it because it's just this incredible feel inside of me. Like, I just want to pour myself into you and give you everything of me.
And that is what putting myself first has done. It felt like it was going to piss you off. I mean, honestly, when I started making these shifts, it felt like you were going to be upset with me because, well, I had some evidence, right? Like early on in our relationship, if I didn't do what you wanted me to do, or if I did something that upset you, you'd get really upset.
Hmm.
Like if I went on a fishing trip with my friends and you didn't want me to go.
Yeah.
And I did back then, a
Hmm.
couple times at least, but I kind of got punished for it.
Yeah. That was, hmm, I'll still say I'm sorry for that.
So eventually I learned my lesson and I stopped doing things that got me punished. And when stopped doing those things, which were me taking care of myself, doing what I wanted to do, putting myself first, you lost respect for me.
Yeah.
And that sucked too. And that feels like a rock in a hard place for a guy.
Yeah. I think I do remember sometimes even you telling me instead of just doing it and having me observe that you would actually tell me, I need to do this, whatever it was for myself. I need to take this time for myself. And I couldn't argue with that when you brought that forth with clarity. Like, it made me understand and see the value of it for yourself and stop making it about me. Not in the fishing trip.
Well, that was pretty early on. This starting to reassert my own individuality and break out of the codependent patterns that I had built and that martyrdom that I had taken on. Like, that was the really hard shift for me because again, now it felt like I was going to start doing again the things that I had been punished for
Oof.
in the past
Yeah.
that I'd stopped doing because that didn't feel good. But I
Yikes.
had to start doing that or I was going to, like, whatever little bit was left of me was going to be gone. And I wasn't willing to go.
Thank you for sharing that. I've never thought about how all of what you do now was just not accepted from me before. Putting yourself first in various ways.
And I wanted to share that because for the guys out there who are listening to this, who are thinking, I can't do this because she's going to be mad at me, she's going to be upset. She might be. And she's also going to get to experience the version of you that takes care of yourself, that cares about yourself, that treats yourself with respect. I can't expect that you're going to respect me when I'm treating myself like I'm worthless by putting myself last in everything.
Yeah. And again, we as women feel that even if we don't completely understand or put words to all of that.
Well, it's something that you don't understand as women, that you can take a man apart and then lose respect for him because he did exactly what you were asking of him.
Oof. Yeah. Totally. That sucks to hear, but it's the truth.
And I actually don't blame women for this. This is a two-way street, because you didn't do that to me. You didn't make me stop going on the fishing trips. You reacted the way you did. You got upset when I didn't give you what you wanted or do things the way that you thought I should. But I also was the one to change those behaviors. So this isn't a woman's responsibility to not do it wrong.
Right.
It is just as much a man's responsibility to not allow himself to be put last.
Right.
To say, no, I'm not going to do that. If I would have held stronger boundaries earlier in our relationship, we probably wouldn't have gotten as far down the path of losing our sexual connection, losing our desire for each other, and having to come so far back out of that. So it wasn't just you doing it to me, but you certainly played a part in why I made the changes that I did. And I also allowed it.
Yeah. Again, thank you for making those changes and moving forward like you did.
It's worth it, because I noticed time and time again that you will never feel about me differently than I feel about myself. If I respect me, you respect me. If I treat myself disrespectfully, then you are going to also disrespect me.
Hmm.
I think that I look like trash. You're going to think that I look like trash too. And this is why dominance means not what I do to you, but how I lead myself. Becoming a dominant man means feeling good about myself, respecting myself, loving myself, being proud of myself.
Yes. All of that.
And that's what I get to then give to you from where I'm full. And now I don't need you to empty yourself out into me, because I'm good. I don't want you to be emptied out any more than I want to be. I want you to be full too. And I want us to love each other in our fullness.
Mm. Yes.
So for the guys listening to this, I want to encourage you to go into the show notes underneath this video or underneath this podcast and look up my course, Becoming a Dominant Man. I also have a free resource in there that you can download called The 12 Steps to Dominance. And this is a process that I built this 12 steps to dominance, it was how I came into who I am now. It's what I had to do to reverse all of these patterns we've been talking about here today. It's the steps that I had to take, and I put them together into a program that you can follow, and you can get the steps for free, and you can look at them and you can start working through them, or you can purchase my Becoming a Dominant Man course where I walk you through them and teach you in them. And I also go live every Wednesday morning for all of the guys who have purchased that course. You get access to these calls every week for free for life as a part of joining that course, where I teach and answer questions, because I'm so passionate about helping men feel good about themselves. So go check that out if this conversation has inspired you. And thank you for giving me the space to redeem myself in the ways that I had fallen apart.
You're welcome. My pleasure. And I deeply appreciate the ways that you have. It's changed my life.
And that's a gift that I'm happy to be able to give you.
And I'm grateful every day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening.
Thank you for being here with us.